Do you have any advice for how families and how we can just set these kids up for success no matter what path they choose?
In California, we have program specialists who support us in the school districts. And I had a program specialist, and I had my responsibility as a vocational coordinator. And every once in a while, we would have a tug of war. Richard, don't give them false expectations. Don't tell them they can have their dream. Don't. It's like, I'm not going to take anyone's dream away. I'm going to help bring in reality. I'm going to help them look at reality and modify their dream as appropriate. I want to be a doctor. Well, your math skills are elementary, your reading skills are pre-primer, and you want to be a doctor. What's in the seed of it? I want to help people. I want to wear a uniform. I want to work in a hospital. Well, that's how we open doors, by making and allowing individuals to be aware of what is in the seed of their reality dream that we can build on. And that's really important. The other dilemma many times, and kind of alluding to it and doing our dance, I want my kid to go to Harvard. Harvard's not the answer for everyone. Nothing against Harvard. But I just think that mentality, we always need to say, how do we dance with reality? So it's a tough one. As I've trained and supported people to learn how to do person-centered planning, they have to have some knowledge base of what are the resources and what are the options that are out there. So we have a grant that we're working on right now, and we have 25 persons with disabilities, self-advocates, who we're training to be co-facilitators for Futures Plan and person-centered planning. So as we do that, we're doing the basics of what's the dream, what's the nightmare, what are we going to do? And then we're having them connect with a mentor who may know more about the systems to help that dance. So my point is, we can use the integrity of person-centered planning to look outside the box, look to the future, et cetera. But you may need people at a local or a state level to have awareness of what's out there. Because if I didn't tell you that it's always better to go to work, and it's a myth regarding SSI, you may be from an environment and a background where people have told people that if you go to work, you lose your Social Security and use your Medi-Cal, so don't look for a job. Well, that is so wrong based on a myth that's out there. So it's constantly a dance and more education. And, we used to call a circle of friends and support groups. And that's really what it reinforces as well.
If someone maybe isn't sure what they want to do, or their family isn't sure, are there any assessment strategies to sort of hone in on a specific goal or multiple goals?
We do have what's called interest inventories, where we can ask a child, a young adult, what do you like? What don't you like? What do you like a lot, not? So we have like 150 careers, and we go through it. We also have it online with career games. We also have it for people who are non-readers. There is a reading-free interest inventory assessment. So we do have black and white or computerized interest inventories. And I've been executive director of a couple interim jobs, and I had a great staff. And all of a sudden, because I am a professor and a vocational counselor, what do you guys want to do when you grow up? They were young professionals. So we're not sure. I said, well, let's all take the interest inventories. So we all did it. And it then comes up, does it show that Richard wants to be a teacher? Yes, it does. So it was really great that you can do that for people with or without disabilities as you're looking to the future. So there are assessments, there are tools that are out there. The other thing that I believe in is volunteerism. And we have in our state what's called workability, which is an opportunity to do a variety of different work experiences while you're in high school or while you're in that group of 18 to 22-year-olds. So we look at different jobs, interests, where we can get them. My nephew, who, as I said, my initial person-centered plan with him years and years ago was he was going to work in animals. So then when he was in our high school district and he was part of workability, we got him a job at Petco and a job at PetSmart. He hated it. But it's like he loves animals. He loved horses. He loved dogs, cats. He's always been a dog whisperer and all that. But I think it was he has Down syndrome and autism, and I believe it were some of the smells in the pet store.
Oh, yeah.
Were not very conducive to what he wanted. He much happier in a bookstore, and he was hugely happy for a number of years at Joann's Fabrics. So we've got to provide those opportunities. Bowling alleys may not be good if you don't like loud noises. So it's like we need to look at that. The other reference that I would give you is to look at Project Search. Project Search is based out of Cincinnati Children's Hospital. It's now international. We have over 600 projects that are Project Search. One of my colleagues and I coordinate or liaison for 33 of the projects in California. We can go into a senior center, we can go into a college, we can go into a hospital. Majority of the environments are hospital. For individuals somewhere between 18 to 22 or young adults, they will then have a 3 to 4 career rotation at those places of work. They may work in X-ray, they may work in personnel, they may work in food service, they may work in another department. And they wear uniforms and they're part of the workforce, but they have a job coach who checks in with them regularly to see how they're doing and what that looks like. So I believe the best way to understand what do I want to do when I grow up is to be in those environments.
What lessons can families take away from planning to make sure that their children have meaningful input in the ITP process?
We want to make it a collective wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
And oftentimes, and even though we're coming from a parent support perspective, I may call and get the voice of the parents last because I want the energy of freshness and newness and closer in age first. Then I will move around the room and do it. But it's really some front loading that we're excited to talk about the future. There is no right or wrong answer. The sky is the limit. No money should be concerned. No program should be concerned. What does Ivy really want when she grows up? What does Ivy like today? What makes Ivy happy? What makes Ivy sad? And if we find out what you want, what your gifts are, what makes you happy, what makes you sad, then we can build a plan to minimize the sadness, embrace the goodness, and look to the future. And in the future, I look at life domains of career, ongoing education, housing, and financial. So I put those bullets up there or those bubbles up there as we navigate and we move on. And I'm doing another one on Saturday for this young woman because she's really in a dilemma of what her next chapter is going to look like. So we've used person-centered planning generically for people as they're making different passages from elementary, middle school to high school to adult. We've used it when it could be possibly some antagonism between the school district says this and the family says this. Well, let's all come together and have the person in the middle and really look at that. And it's really helped. And we've come up with some amazing brainstorming through this person-centered thinking. So that's my old age wisdom.
Whose role, school or parent, is it to identify and reach out to the agencies that are involved for support?
It really has to be both.
Okay.
Parents are the lifelong case manager.
Mm-hmm.
We like to pass the baton to the schools, to the Department of Rehab, to the regional center. But we know that we are the ones that are going to be watching Michael and supporting Michael for his entire life. So we are blessed because we're in the field, that we knew the resources, we knew who to ask, we knew where to go and what that looks like. So it's a combination between the family and the parents and the systems because we've got mental health, we have unemployment, EDD, we've got career one-stops, we've got Department of Rehab, we have Social Security Administration, we have the IDDD system. Ohio, you have superintendents of IDDD. California, we have regional centers. So from a global point of view, I would want parents to really know what's out there and what that looks like. So we help them ask the school districts the right questions to get the information they need. So I don't want to diss school districts. I don't want to diss regional centers, but the quality of life for your son or daughter is only as good as the teacher, the regional center service coordinator, the case manager. So parents have to be informed to help those teachers, case managers, social workers do the best job they can for their son or daughter. And they are the best advocate, the most informed advocate, the strongest advocate for their sons and daughters. Yes, there is a balance for wanting the sky and the Cadillac, if the Cadillac's the right thing, or the Mercedes or whatever, the Pinto, whatever you want. So you got to do a balance. One of my colleagues, when we were doing this blueprint for change, someone said, don't give parents everything because they'll want everything. Dealing with reality versus fantasy is important for the individual himself or herself, as well as for the family, as well as the system. So it's that balancing act of how do you really know what's best for your son or daughter as you navigate what options are out there. And isn't that true for those of us who are parents of what makes sense for my son Nathan versus my son Anthony? And they're very different boys as we navigate and we move on.
So when should the family get the regional center involved or call regional center? And what is regional center responsible for when it comes to the ITP?
When do you tap into the regional center? When do you tap into education? When do you tap into voc rehab? It's a great question. My broader way to answer that is we've got the federal law that says inclusion, integration, education from birth to 22 is out there. Push it. I will tell you, as a professor and a PhD, the most inclusive you can do is the best for your son or daughter. The most mainstream you can do is the best for your son or daughter. And that goes back to history. If I want my kid to make it in the real world and work with real people in the real world, I don't want them just being around kids with autism. I don't want them just being around kids with Down syndrome. What do you learn? You learn how to be a good person with Down syndrome. You learn how to be really autistic. So the inclusion, the mainstreaming is crucial. I ask families to err on requesting a diploma track path for their sons or daughters. They may not have all the, many districts will say, well, they don't have the prerequisites. Well, I don't believe in that. We can modify, accommodate, and enrich. Mm-hmm. And the more we push for diploma and inclusion, we get more academic enrichment. We're not just all of a sudden put on a functional curriculum, community-based curriculum. We still believe in embracing the academics. This is what sends parents over again, is you want your son or daughter to have a job and a career. Therefore, you want the school district to start preparing for that early on and build to that. If they think little Johnny is just going to stay home with mommy and daddy, they're going to take care of him the rest of their life, then the school district and the adult agencies in the system are going to do the least they can do, because Johnny's going to be fine. I don't have to worry about Johnny because mommy and daddy will take care of him forever. So that's where education, diploma, inclusion. The other talk that is really important is to have the same expectation you do for all of your other sons and daughters. At some point, they're going to move out. If we don't believe at some point they're going to move out, the system will be very happy to leave them in your house, not teach them independent living skills, not teach them mobility skills, social skills, etc., because they're just going to be living with mommy and daddy. Mommy and daddy become grandma and grandpas, and that's not how. I don't want to misinterpret that. I don't want you to put that in writing that's going to backfire on me. But high expectations, lead to quality programs and the best results for your kids. Anyone who has an intellectual disability should be connected to the regional center, period. They may be put on hiatus while they're in school, but they should be in the regional center system. And anyone who has a disability who's interested in getting a job, who will need support, should connect with the State Department of Oak Rehab. They work differently. Joe Xavier is the director of Oak Rehab in Sacramento. He has 14 satellite offices, but all of them should run under very similar policies, procedures, intake, orientation. So if I get into San Diego Department of Rehab and then I move to Los Angeles, my system should look the same, my services should look the same, etc. However, if I'm in the South Bay and I'm in Harbor Regional Center, and then I move up to West Side and I'm in West Side Regional Center, then I go to far northern, services and systems could look a little different in each of them because of that concept of the 21 regional centers meeting the unique needs of their community, their geography, and the individuals they support.
When should they start calling about post-grad regional center programs if that's in their child's plan?
We are very proud of many regional center service coordinators coming to all the high school and transition IEPs. So there's a commitment from many of the regional centers to be there in high school, 18 to 22, to be ready for post-secondary. I go crazy with families who don't listen to us, where we really start pushing freshman year, reactivate your regional center case, reactivate it, get it back up. Freshman, sophomore, junior, and then still we have seniors where families didn't listen to us, nothing against families, but it's really important to get it done as soon as possible because we are blessed in California to have the Lanterman Act. We are blessed to have the entitlement. Other states don't have it. So let's get into alignment so it is a smooth transition from school to adult life. And what we wrote in many of our transition plans for those 18 to 22-year-olds is that they would interview at least 3 adult agencies to explore what makes sense for them. So we write it on our school district side where we have to work with the regional center to help navigate options so they're not sitting at home becoming a couch potato for that first summer after they leave the high school district. So that's really important. And I push out there to all the families, do it early, make sure your regional center's with you, and you don't want to have any hiatus because any hiatus just magnifies the loss in time if they're not riding a bus, if they're not doing their functional math, if they're not, doing what they need to do.
What are possible services families can expect from regional center, i.e. supported living services?
So regional center traditionally would have day programs, and it could be a work activity. But now we are no longer doing shelter workshops, so they have to be community-based. They have to be as integrated as possible. We have a concept that's called tailored day services, which is unique to that individual. We have supported employment, which is to help with jobs, which could be from the regional center and or blended for ongoing support and supported employment from Department of Rehab and the regional center together. We do have supported living, which is under residential. We do have group homes that are still out there. We're fading some of those in some communities for more individualized or small group. And then we now have self-determination, which encompasses total life for the individual from the regional center system. So we're evolving over time. We're building over time as we navigate from school to adult life and the regional center.